Welcome back, guys, to the Supercoach Swordplay podcast. You're joined by me, Janath, and I'm joined by my good mates, Supercoach with DR and Spills. Hectic week. I'm back on the podcast. I felt a bit left out last week when your mate Brent was on DR. A few expletives thrown around here and there, but what an episode. Hopefully we get back to a bit of normality, but Supercoach-wise, there's not much normality going on. Nick Daicos, the most popularly owned player in the top 1%, is gone for the rest of the Supercoach season. We're here to discuss all the replacements. But firstly, I'll get to the round reviews here. DR, do you want to kick us off? Firstly, how's your week been? And then secondly, how'd your Supercoach go? I know you're making a very, very late charge to the top 1K.
Oh, a bit too late, mate. But great to have you back, mate. We did miss you last week. Brent was obviously in your chair just for the week. So very, very different hosting styles, I think, there. But we did miss you, brother. Great to have you on. And well done to the Blues. Absolutely smashing it at the moment, mate. But look, yeah, making a bit of a mini comeback. I've left it too late, obviously, starting at, 92K. I have made my way to about 3,300 at the moment. So kicking goals late towards the season. I do have one more trade up the sleeve as well, which is handy. So I will be able to move on King Nick. Really unfortunate, isn't it? Because the young fellow is just absolutely dominating the competition. But look, for a round score, it was 25 something, just over 2,500 in the end. Was projected for about 26 until Jack Steele and Sheasel had quiet matches. But team value is at a season high. It's at 14.5 mil now. So that's a mini milestone for me. Took the VC on Zeret, end up taking that score. I didn't take Bont, and I thought, what on earth have I done here? But Big Zeret really shone through in the end. And look, I think with Daicos going down, it actually works to my advantage, actually having a trade, because Janath, you'll probably speak about this later, but there are a few teams, particularly in that top 1%, that don't actually have the luxury of a trade. So that'll set us apart, I think, for the next 3 weeks. But yeah, all in all, mate, lots of green arrows, but surely it's going to be my time to go down with some sort of carnage soon. I'm not counting all my chickens, but going pretty well. Thanks, mate.
Good stuff. And I think this is the first time in what feels like quite a while that all three of our teams won in the same week. Like,
yeah.
It's
Did you call it a win?
feeling.
Spills?
Look, on paper, yeah, but I think
take the 4 points.
I think West Coast supporters would be more stoked with the result over us. So absolute frustration, boys. That is the worst 4-point performance. That worst win I've ever seen in AFL VFL history. That is a shocker. But still alive. Just
he's giving it a big back. Yeah.
Spills, well, I'll say that Essendon didn't perform well, but you know who did perform well? Your Supercoach team. Tell us more about it.
Yeah. We had in the modest way possible, we had a very, very great week. So I actually scored 2,555 before scaling. I don't know what I end up with on. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably lost like 5 points or something. But yeah, we've gone up in the ranks. So we're now ranked 3,726 overall. Back into the top 2%, season high rank, obviously, which is really good. Excuse me. And more importantly, we are ranked 512 for this week, which is by far the highest weekly rank I've had in Supercoach. So that's thank you, Janath. But that's really promising and a really good time to do it. A perfect time to do it. Because I'm in a cash league, obviously, DR, that we were in, and I've moved straight into it.
Yeah, I was in.
Mate, the stiffest man ever, because haven't you planned perfectly for it? I reckon if you made the 8, you'd be such a smoky because you come good at the right time. So really unfortunate, but it's made me feel a lot better about my team without the pressure of you being in there, because I know what you can do once you get going. So yeah, we're in the $100 cashy prelim, so that's really good. So a 1 in 4 chance of winning it now. But it's gonna be a few sleepless nights over the next couple of weeks. Are we going to take it home? I've had a look at me matchups, and I'm not overly confident with it. And obviously 10 out of 10 league wins too. So Yeah, absolutely crushed it this week, boys. But yeah, obviously my Bombers didn't as much. Was at the game, and yeah, really frustrating. And yeah, all in all, good week. Had the VC on Merit. He was good to watch. I got there about 10 minutes to go in the first quarter. We'll run a little bit late. And he was only on 4 points. And I was thinking, oh, this is going to be a long day at the office. We started like shit. And then he clicked into gear. And I think he was pretty lucky to get a 140 score. I didn't think he was anywhere near it, but a few really elite passes through the corridor as he loves. And yeah, I would have gone Petrarca as a fallback, but yeah, got very lucky there. So pretty stock standard, Merit VC, a really solid week, and no Daicos, no trades, but unlike a lot of other people, 23 primos left. So yeah, had Lloyd on the bench, couldn't loop him, so I had to a straight up field a day. So it was a bit of a gamble, and they both scored 98 on the dot. So yeah, Lloyd will come. Yeah, so Lloyd will come on for Daicos. That's my cover. And yeah, if there's any other carnage, we're going to be looking at Windhager. Hopefully we don't get to that. But yeah, I think you could do a hell of a lot worse with no trades. And that's why I've been saying, boys, 23 primos. I just think it's so important, whether it's a value primo, whether it's a Hewitt type, it's cover, it'll do. So yeah, pretty happy with the side, lads.
Yeah. I'm just going to, before I get into my round, I'm going to play devil's advocate to your 23rd primo conversation there. This is what DR and I were talking about. I think this is the reason why I don't want 23 primos, because you've got to 23 primos by running out of trade spills, so you don't get to choose who your cover for Daicos is. Whereas a team like in the position I'm in, I've got 22, but now with my last trade, I can specifically choose the play I get to come on for Daicos, and that's the sort of real I'm in an R situation that a lot of coaches have been in throughout the season. You aim for 23, run out of trades. Some even, like I know Selby, the coach of Moreira's Magic, had 24, and then someone gets injured, someone else comes on, but you don't get to choose who that cover is. But with my team, 24-18 for the week, not ideal. It could have been a lot worse. Sheasel, him with Jack Steeble is Alistair Clarkson's love child. Seriously, this man
isn't he?
He's gone from sub back-to-back weeks to taking Sheasel's chips. It's very annoying. I actually VC'd English, and I was a bit concerned that Merritt will get tagged. And in these league finals, we've been talking about tactics, and just me, I was overthinking it. I was thinking, okay, maybe I can screen in a different way without. I can screen how Merritt goes, and then on Sunday there's two really good matchups: Petrarca, the high upside pick against North, or Dunkley, the safe pick against Freo. And how Merritt goes, I'll then match that with the safe pick if he goes a 120, or the high upside pick in Petrarca if he goes a 140. And what do you know? At 3/4 times I'm 92. You're like, all right, this is good. It's tracking into that territory of a 125. Coach's like, oh, do you take it? Do you not? And then he has a Merritt quarter. I tell you what, Zach Merritt becoming the Essendon captain Spills is the biggest improvement from one captain to another that I've seen in a very long time. And you guys have a brilliant leader on your hands there. So ended up captaining Petrarca, which at halftime was also looking like a disaster until he had a masterclass of a 3rd quarter there. So salvage 24-18. Since I was on the potty a couple of weeks ago, I've gone back 21 spots. So still at 736. 736 could have been a whole lot worse. Even Naz was on like 29 at 3/4 time.
Yeah,
and then he scrambled to an 85. What a legend. Like that's saving a round right there.
Yeah, what a good man.
But nah, one trade left. We'll talk about the Daicos options coming up soon, but we're not going to Nick Daicos for the rant this week, are we, DR? Where are we headed for your rant, mate?
Look, we're going a little bit different, boys. A little bit different this week. Now, look, I don't like having a crack at people. You know, this is obviously all a little bit of fun. But, look, lately, depending on who's been commentating the Lions games, I'd rather put the TV on mute. I really would, or listen to it on the radio somehow. Some of the commentary is just beyond the joke. Now, we know the players pretty well. I think that if you put most, well, let's just say players, top 30 players on each AFL list in front of us, we'd be pretty able, I reckon, to say who that player is. If you're a professional commentator, then surely you've got to know the difference between Charlie Curnow and Charlie bloody Cameron. Kelly Underwood, sorry, I'm coming for you. Now, this isn't a sexist thing. This isn't a female thing, because BT is another one that I just cannot stand. You know, the cringy stuff he does in the rooms after the game and all that, cannot stand it. Now, don't mind him as a bloke, you know, funny sort of fella and all the rest, but they just get so many things wrong. You know, Kelly Underwood, famously, the Orange team, the week before.
She did it again on the weekend too.
Come on, the Gold Coast Lions apparently stuffs up Collard Chee's name, Kitty Coleman, Collard Chee. No, sorry, I mean, and really, Janath. Now I take offence to this, mate. The rising star for this year, right? Lock him in, because we can see how much of an impact he's actually had in the top 4 midfield. So just give this bloke the rising star medal. Will Ashcroft, not Marcus Ashcroft. Cully, not Marcus. That's his father. Give us an absolute spell. Give us a break. It is becoming unwatchable with these commentators, and these two in particular just do my head in. You know, you compare that to like the Huttos of the world. You know, even back to the McAvaney's committee. Come on, where's the quality these days? I'm not saying that, you know, everyone's shocking, but Kelly Underwood in particular and BT do better, because I just can't stand listening to those two. So my mini rant, guys, but just getting too many Kelly Underwood games at the moment. Cannot stand.
Dia, I've got a question for you, mate. Does that mean that Marcus Ashcroft would have won the Will Ashcroft medal in the Derby? Oh, in the Q Clash?
Well, yes, that's right. He would have won his own medal somehow. I was actually spewing that. I really wanted him to actually get that. I thought, what a moment that would have been in his first year, getting the medal off the old man. But no, I don't know how you feel about particular commentators, guys. I try not to rag on them too much, but just got to me on the weekend, and I actually got my phone out. I didn't post a video or anything, but every time that you made, I went bang, record. I kept on getting the phone out. I was getting a sore arm. That looks like I'm doing something else here, doesn't it? I better be careful what I'm doing there. But I'll tell you what, I was getting a bit of a sore arm pulling that phone out, recording all these mistakes. It was just, yeah, not at the level for me, boys.
You know what I'm confused about? Will Ashcroft didn't even play in that game. Like, how can you get the name wrong of someone that doesn't even play? Like, surely they're on a run sheet or something.
Well. The man didn't play and still gets called during the game with the wrong name. I'm not too sure, mate. You have to ask her that. I got no more to say. But yeah, for now on, I'll just be, particular commentators are on. Pause the TV, match it up, whatever it is with the radio, and just listen with the earphones in, I think, mate.
Who is your favourite? Like someone that you
my favourite, Hutto, mate. Yeah. Love Hutto.
Yeah. I think Hutto's the obvious one, but like if you had to choose like an underdog, like someone to be underrated. When we go around, like who's some underrated? I think we all would say
underrated. I'll tell you who. Jason Bennett. I'll tell you exactly. Yeah. So I was at the ground, Carlton, St Kilda. This man. So obviously you see Paddy Dow kicks the goal. We all go nuts because it's like bloody Paddy Dow kicked the game, like leading goal. And then you listen back to the commentary and it goes Doherty to Dow, Blues in front. And he doesn't say anything, lets the crowd do the talking, and the crowd goes nuts. You hear it on the screen. Like that's all you want as a footy fan, is to absorb that atmosphere. It shouldn't be the front line. So Jason Bennett.
Great call. It seems like a great deal for it.
Yeah. He was a real like OG VFL commentator like about 10 years ago or so. Yeah, he was great. It's a good shout.
Spills, yourself?
Oh, I got a funny one actually. People bagged the graveyard shift, the 4:40 Sunday afternoon, and or whatever it is, 3 o'clock over in WA times. But I don't mind it. I don't mind a bit of WA twilight footy. So I'm going to go.
Papalia.
Yeah. Is it Adam Papalia or Pipalia?
Yeah, Papalia. Yeah.
Yeah, Adam Papalia. I like him. I think he's really good. He's exciting. He's come a long way. He's a great commentator and a nice combination with Dwayne Russell as well. They just bounce off each other really well. So the old Twilight shift, usually say, Dwayne goes, maybe we save the best for last. That's his old chestnut in the Twilight game. It's a good contest. He's got these classic one-liners that he says almost every week. They just work so well.
Yeah,
that's crazy good. Yeah, he's unreal. Great to have your company wherever you're watching around the country. Yeah,
he does too. He does.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
I was going to say Paps as well, actually, mate.
He spent it before he had it.
Spent it before he earned it.
You spent it before he earned it. Yeah.
Yeah. There are so many Dwayneisms going around. My friend Ross and I, we make like a compilation of Dwayneisms. That's what we call them as he goes on through the game. Yeah. It's brilliant. I'll let you boys in on a secret. When I was small, like 9, I used to play footy by myself. Now this may seem very, very lonely, but upstairs got the little plushy footy. Kick it to yourself. Oh, Fevola's taken a mark. He goes back and you commentate. I'm commentating over it. So back in the day, my childhood dream job was to become a commentator. And I was trying to figure out ways to become a commentator without actually having a football career. So it's good to see some of the non-footballers actually making their way in the commentary world. So it's a nice little sentimental touch there.
You would do a good job, mate.
Taking it back.
I reckon you'd be great.
You'd
be great, mate. Start off, get a little job maybe on the ABC or something, or work your way up, mate.
You'd be a good special comments, I reckon, Janath. If you were stat sheet there on the boundary line, you can sit next to Abby
David
Holmes
King
on the boundary and pull out your stat. Yeah, David King. You can go on. Or you can go on.
First crack.
Janath on first crack on a Sunday night. Buddy, give Joey the arse. You jump on there with Kingy and who else is on there? Hutto. Yeah, they did have Tommy Morris before he
he got
done for sexual harassment.
Scoopsy's mate, our friend Scoops, good mates with Scoops. He's Tom.
After that segue, I reckon we should go on to what's going to form the meat of this sort of podcast, and that is the big elephant in the room. Nick Daicos out for 6 weeks with a hairline fracture. The incident didn't look good. It actually reminded me back to an NRL incident that happened to Ryan Pappenhausen last year, where he basically fractured his kneecap. That's what it looked like, but thankfully it's not as bad as that. And he could be back for sort of, let's say, qualifying weekend if they make a semi-prelim. Really depends how that bone heals up. But I've had the time this week to come up with this little graphic for you guys after Daicos went down. And basically this summarizes who I think, and we're probably going to talk about as well, the 8 most reasonable sort of Daicos replacements I put a cap at 590k. So obviously you got your Sicilies and you got your Petrarcas, your Olivers, your Dan Houstons, who are all priced out of this range. But it's just so that it's general to the majority of people there. So I'm just going to put it out to you boys really quickly. Is there anyone that stands out on this page? Dia, I know that you're eyeing off between 2 of them specifically. Do you sort of want to divulge who those 2 players may be?
Yeah, firstly, Janath, ripping job with this graphic that you got here, mate. Absolutely phenomenal stuff, buddy. But look, I totally agree. 8 really, really nice options here. All realistic options, decent price, all affordable, I think, if you're a Daicos owner. But probably for me, mate, and I've sort of changed my tune over the last 24 hours. It's out of Darcy Parish, DP3, and Luke Jackson. I can't believe I'm saying Luke Jackson, but hear me out. So we can see on the graphic here, ruck forward, which is very important for me, particularly not being a DCAM owner. And I've been big on having ruck cover and DPP cover all over your field all year since day one. So I'm really liking the fact that I may be able to get a ruck forward in my side. And hey, I'm not wishing injury on Big Maxi or Big Kizzy here, but just in case, we never know what could happen in 3 weeks. So I really love that fact. 506,200, as we mentioned. well, it doesn't really matter what the price is, does, as long as he's under Daicos, then that's all good. Ownership, we can see there, 7.7%. Top 1%, 11.4. So relatively poddish there, but you're not really going down to a 1% type thing where you're taking that really big risk. It's risky enough, but not a huge risk. And we look at the last three there, 120 average, taking into account you've got that one massive score there. But look, for me, one of the big things that we need to take into account is this man's numbers being the number one ruck without Big Sean Darcy in the side. Now, I think a few people may have been put off the week before with that lower score that he punched out. But given the fact that this week he's coming up against West Coast, which is a nice matchup as it is, but without their number one ruckman, well, I don't know how far down the line, Nick Nat's the number one, but whoever far down the line is the number one at the moment, Bailey Williams, he is Gonski. He's been suspended, rubbed out for the week. So I'd tell you what, if you can put a 170 odd on a Darcy Fort, then surely he can put a 170 odd on who's going to be Jack Williams, or I don't even know who it's going to be.
It's going to be Callum Jamison.
I was trying to think of. I couldn't remember him off the top of my head, but yeah.
Well, come on. Let's be honest here, boys. After what Freo gave up for this man, and Melbourne have a very nice draft haul coming into this year as well. After what Freo gave up for this bloke, if he cannot absolutely dominate someone like a Callum Jamison, then sorry, let's all just give up now. He's got to. He's absolutely got to.
Yep.
He won't blow this one, I don't think.
Well, I hope not, mate. I hope not. Week after Vicentini, I don't know if Lysa will be back. I don't know who they're going to be using, but let's just say Vicentini, come on again. You've got to dominate someone like this. And then the third week, it's Hawthorn, where who knows?
Tough matchup.
Yeah, it's not a fantastic one.
You'd hope that Jackson has made up enough points that whoever your other option is, at that point, it's basically you could score 80 and you'd still end up ahead.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. So that's my thoughts on Luke Jackson. And the other one, obviously, is Darcy Parish there. So if you look at that, 4.5%, 16.6 in the top 1%, though. 119, 101, 109 in his last three. He's just been super consistent. I think it's only been 4 sub-tons this year, and they haven't really been those floor-type scores. I think 3 from memory are in the 90s, maybe 1 in the 80s. So you know you're getting a really decent floor there as well. And what we haven't seen this year, I think I'm just going to say off the top of my head, maybe 131 or 139 is his highest score for the year. Most years, if you look back, you'll see an absolute monster from Parish at some stage of the season. Still haven't had that yet, and he's coming up against North this week. North, if they're going to tag anyone, it's not going to be DP3, is it? We all know who it's going to be, and it's going to be Zachary Merritt. So I think given the fact he plays alongside Merritt, that's actually really good for him because he shouldn't receive too much opposition attention. I just don't think they'll bother with him. They'll look to go to the best kick in the competition, almost, in my opinion, in Zach Merritt, and one of the most damaging plays in the comp when he's actually off the chain, much more damaging than DP3. But look, lots to like about Parish, but I think that what I'm really looking for Jackson is matchup. So I like Parish's matchup this week, not necessarily against GWS, not great against Collingwood, although think back to bloody Anzac days, he loves to smash them during Anzac days. Sorry. I was going to say, sorry, Spills, you're an Essendon fan, mate. Thought you're a West Coast fan the way you were carrying on the weekend, mate, after that Essendon win, mate. But yeah, sorry, I was after that drive-by. But look, yeah, in saying that, I just like Jackson's next 2 matchups. I think they are 2 of the juiciest matchups that any player will see in the next 2 weeks. I don't know if I'm going too far there, but
I'll add to this.
Come on, yeah.
I'll add to this, DR. So, for context, I traded out Sam Walsh last week, and my 2 options, obviously, you brought it up in your sort of little mailbag segment. My 2 options for most of the week was Butters and Jackson, because Jackson had Darcy Fort, Bailey Williams at the time, and Vicentine in 3 ruck matchups. And so I've messaged my mate. I'm like, Butters 137. You can't complain. It's like the 9th highest score for the round. I'm like, you watch though. Jackson, because he was doubting me all. I was like, Jackson's going to go off. And he's like, no, he isn't. Jackson's at 127 at halftime.
Oh, mate, that gut, that back your gut, isn't it? It's tough. Yeah.
But to be fair, he only scored 46 in the second half. So it's like, it's not
good point. Yeah,
And
yeah.
that is a slight red flag, maybe. Doesn't run out games well. I didn't actually get to watch the second half or the first half of that
Yeah,
game because of the
I think
Carlton
that
Saints game. Do you have anything to add there? Because you're the
yeah,
Lions, obviously.
just very quickly on that. I think this was in his press conference. Don't quote me, but I did definitely hear Fagan say, might have been on radio. I'm not too sure, but he did, sort of talk to Darcy Ford at halftime. Didn't say too much, but he said he wasn't performing at his best. We had a chat at halftime, and then he really rectified that in the second half. So I think that he got a bit of a rocket, did Darcy, and. Oh, look, I'm not saying he wasn't trying or anything, but he really did pull his finger out and give him, a lot more competition than what he was in the first half, I think, mate. So I think it was a lot due to actually Fort playing better football in the second half.
Spills, I'm looking for your impartial opinion here now. You don't have a trade, and so you're going to bring Jake Lloyd on for Nick Daicos. But if, say, you did have a trade, and you can pick a player on any line, who would you be looking for? It could be someone here. You could be looking at someone outside the box as well. What do you reckon?
Well, first of all, well done. This is a fantastic chart. You put in a lot of effort, and it's just absolutely magnificent for our viewers that get the luxury to look at this. So I can't elaborate as much as DR because his decision, as we just saw, is so far up in the air. But hopefully I'll try and make it a little bit easier. So there's two here that I'd probably put a line through altogether. This one's a bit controversial, but Luke Ryan, boys, look at that ownership in the top 1%. It's through the roof. And this is the reason why I think DR and myself didn't go there about after his buy, because he's starting to play more accountable, and it's showing. Because what's happening is they put Young up into the midfield to sort of play more defensive, and he dominated. I watched all that game. Yeah. It was fantastic, which sort of made Ryan a little bit more accountable, and that's not good for Supercoach. So as an anti-pod, I think he's someone that I'd be pretty happy to steer clear of. And Adam Chalor, I love Adam Chalor, love the as and dunk potty, but just way too injury prone and inconsistent. I had him in draft, so he's another one that I've been following pretty closely this season. But if I had to pick, I probably would have said Parrish because of the opposition that he's got coming up, and he does like to play the Pies. He loves a contested ball. He won the 2021 Anzac Day medal when he went bonkers 160 or something like that. So he's got a great run coming up. I think he'll find a lot of the footy if Merritt cops some Shields attention this week, if they persist, whether they play him or not. I'm not quite sure, but I probably changed my mind when I found out that Bailey Williams isn't playing. So, yeah, Luke Jackson was unbelievable. He's just an absolute gun, and I think Sean Darcy's going to be another club next year, because why wouldn't you persist with Dogger? And he's a nice pod, nice DPP as well. So I really like him as an option. So he'd be my preferred choice DR at the moment, just because he's going to go bang. You would think, but there's some really good options here. I've got Sarong as well in my side. I like him this week against West Coast. He's a real in and under. He should carve up West Coast. Probably my captain for this week, but it's a little bit of a sugar hit because as an owner, it's been pretty inconsistent. I'm not going to lie. There's been some scores where I've had myself scratching my head at times, thinking, I don't know if that was the right option. He's lurking around me M6 to 7 range, so not ideal. Yeah, there's better options, and safe as houses. Butters is safe. I think Doherty's super safe, and Newman, he seems pretty safe, but he's like a super pod.
Oh yeah,
like he could do some serious damage, but if he goes terribly, I mean, it's curtains for your league. So I don't know if you guys want to comment on any of that, but Dogger for me by a long shot. I think.
I was just going to, sorry, I almost cut you off twice there. Sorry, Spills. I was just going to add to Newman, mate. When I was looking at his stats, I think so. I looked at the last 5 weeks. So possession wise, it was like 23, 23, 23. Up that a little bit, then it was in the 30s. But it doesn't seem like he needs a lot of the peel to actually score well, mate. The other thing I noticed from the last 5 weeks, only 10 of those touches were kickouts. So he's not actually relying on them to score well. I think probably Doherty's move up the ground a little bit more has probably aided his scoring. But I really don't think he's the worst pod in the world, Nick Newman. In current form, with his role,
Yeah, he looks great, doesn't he?
Yeah, he doesn't have to rely on getting 30-plus touches or getting a heap of kick-ins. I think that's a good sign. You know, a bloke that can score a nice 100 from 23 touches, it's pretty nice for me, I think, mate. So I really don't mind Tim if you really want to go different. But you're the Carlton man, Janath. What do you got to say on Nick Newman? Because I think he's a really interesting selection, mate.
So doing a positional analysis on Newman himself. So ever since the Carlton bye, so we'll go from the Carlton win streak, actually. So the 7 games we won, Newman, honestly, like I've been saying it for a while now, but he's definitely pushing the All-Australian team. He's not got the name recognition. In fact, I don't even know Ross Lyon knew he existed on the weekend because one of the coaches gave him 5 coaches' words and the other one didn't. And he was clearly the best on ground. Like, you could ask anyone and he was far and away the best player on the ground.
Yeah.
So in the 7 games we've won, he's gone 121, 59, 114, 106, 92, 137, 144. So if you take out the 59, his lowest score is a 92 and his next lowest is 106. Like,
that's pretty solid, isn't it? It's a good pod. That's such a good pod.
Yeah.
The 3 weeks Boyd's been out, he's gone 92, 137, 144. And then the week McGovern's out, he went 144 on the weekend. I think one of the big things that separates Newman and Doherty in terms of their scoring is that Newman's disposal efficiency is very, very high. Yeah. And so I don't have the exact number in front of me, but at the game against St Kilda, he's taken intercept marks, contested intercept marks normally. And then he's making the right decision. He's not blazing away. If you remember to our chat, boys, at the start of the season, and you guys will ask me why Carlton's season went all wrong at the end of last season, and I said that Nick Newman got injured in the Adelaide game, you guys are probably wondering, who the hell's Nick Newman?
Yeah.
Like what? Who is he? Why does he matter? But
does he play for Sydney?
Can clearly see. You guys can clearly see just how important he is. He's probably, if I had to pick one player in the Carlton team to become a coach after he retires, it'd be Nick Newman. He's that intelligent.
Wow, okay.
And so, as a pod, and this is really important, and I'm gonna bring my personal analogy here as well. So my position, I've got Jordan Dawson in defense right now. And my D7 at the moment is Seamus Mitchell, who's been subbed off twice. And is either could be injured, could be dropped. So hypothetically, let's say I bring in a midfielder or a forward. That means I move Dawson back into defense. And Seamus Mitchell is there's D7 as cover. Now, if Seamus Mitchell is injured or it doesn't play, I've got Charlie Constable and Seamus Mitchell as defense. And it relies on none of my back 6 getting injured. And to be fair, this is fine for me to say because I know a lot of teams are in this position where if another defensive injury hits, it's curtains. There's going to be donuts everywhere. The only problem I have is that I've got a Nasiah Wangari Malera, who is a pod. And so if Naz gets injured, it doesn't affect much of the comp, but it affects me.
Yes.
Whereas if a Tom Stewart gets injured, everyone gets hit. Like, everyone's going to be copping donuts. So it's one of those risk versus rewards, and it will definitely come down to, this is just all thought processes here. It'll come down to if Seamus is named on Thursday night. If he's named, I'm more confident going to Parrish or Jackson than if he is not named. Because the fact is, if one of those defenders gets injured this week and Mitchell isn't named this week, you can't trust that he's going to be named in the upcoming weeks, and it's probably going to be a donut.
Yep.
So those are the thought processes. At the same time, DR, and this is why I think Luke Jackson is the perfect pick for you, mate. Now, you're probably kicking yourself when you traded Cameron out a couple of weeks ago.
Oh,
because you're like, one,
big
he
time,
goes
mate.
Bonkers, and 2, that's your ruck cover, right? But now you've been given,
You get that back.
given an opportunity for redemption.
Yeah.
To get that ruck cover back.
Ruck cover redemption. I like it.
Ruck cover redemption. And you never know. You can't predict these things. Like,
He's sitting
this
right
might-
there. He's sitting right
he's
there.
sitting
with
right there.
Ruck ball
Yeah.
DPP. No
Yeah.
Sean Darcy. No Ruck this week.
It's
He's
almost
a
too
man
good to be true
for
you,
the
mate.
rest of the year.
Yeah.
It's
It
right
makes
there.
sense,
He's
doesn't it?
within range. It's not like he did this score 2 weeks ago and he's
Yeah.
580k and 20k
Yeah.
too short or something like that. He's
Yeah,
right there.
that's
So
right.
I really
Very
like. Yeah, Dogger for me, like 100%. And just quickly, boys, a real funny one. Geez, a week's a long time in Supercoach. I was sitting here this time last week saying that my biggest regret at the season was starting Lloyd instead of Ryan after the bye. But Ryan's played more accountable, and Lloyd's actually come really good, like nearly tonned up off donut time on ground. Let's be honest, he's coming. Hopefully, gets a fair run at it. So that's pretty funny because sitting here at the moment, I'd almost rather Lloyd over Ryan. Like if I had to pick between the two from the rest of the season.
Ooh.
Well, because
that's a big call.
Well, not really, because on Sports
You don't
Day
reckon?
last night, no, because it's just like clear as day. They got Young in the midfield. I don't think he's going to leave that spot. Like I think he definitely, those two together, Ryan and Young, definitely free each other up. But with Young up in the guts, they probably. I don't know who they push back. Maybe one of you boys would know, but it's definitely putting daggers on Ryan scoring. Like he was literally playing like lockdown on the weekend, scraped his way to an 88. So yeah, that's a different sort of opinion, but yeah, it's you flip the you flip the magnets around, and I think Young's a real reason for that score, I reckon.
I'll tell you something to add to this, Spills. Is I was listening to I wasn't able to watch, but I was listening to the commentary on Foxtel, and they were going on about how the fact is when Ethan Hughes got subbed out, they didn't have a seventh defender, and so it was either push Young out from his effective tagging role on Neil into defense, or to move like an O'Meara into defense. And so what you're going on about is right about this accountability. I just think that. The fact of the matter is that Lloyd didn't turn up, and he almost got concussed again, which would have been absolute brutal.
Oh, that was going to be my rant. That was going to be my rant, but I've already ranted about Seagull getting concussed. So I thought I need something different. Have a dig at the commentators.
Lucky it wasn't serious. But
I know, man. I know.
It's very fortunate, and hopefully the Seagull gets a good run. But what I'm saying is, Luke Ryan. It's hard to say that you're happy with the Seagull when Luke Ryan is playing lockdown. He's still going 88, 112, 111. Like you take that any day of the week, like that consistency.
It sort of meant from like here on out because from what we saw. Because I did watch Lloyd the other week against us, he did whatever he wanted. I mean, just got so much cheap ball. I thought he was unders. Honestly, hit 120 or just. I thought he was unders. He had so much of the pill, and then have a look at it, and then obviously on the weekend that concussion set him back, and still you could almost round that off to 100. You laugh, and so that's pretty solid. So two really good weeks, isn't it? Yeah.
If that was Jordan Ridley, he would have ended on 110.
Oh my God! Don't get Brett started on this one. Far out! Didn't he have some wise words for Riddles? He come after him. He come after me, boy Riddles.
Oh, didn't he? Janet,
he come after everybody.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Go on, DR.
Went nuts. What I love here, mate, and what I'm really looking at here is the ease of matchup for position. I really love this column, mate, because you can see a couple of things that really stand out. So if you look at Doherty, for example, he's got your 16th, 13th there, a nice second. You look at Sarong, 1st, 7th, 13th. Then you look at the two blokes that we've been talking about mainly in Parrish and Jackson. Parrish, 2nd, 5th, 16th, and then Jackson, 2nd, 3rd, 10th. So if you're looking at ease of matchups, it really is hard to go past Jacko. And the other one we probably haven't talked about much at all is Adam Treloar. And I think that probably the reason for this is A, he's coached by Bevo, and B, we just don't trust his hammies and his injury history with that soft tissue. So I looked at him. I did have a look at him. But
it's a move for someone that's chasing. Like if you're
Yeah.
chasing
yeah,
a win or
absolutely.
something.
Yeah.
But if you're playing for rank, Adam Treloar, I was saying this last week, again, he was one of the options for Sam Walsh. It's like, the last thing you want is Adam Treloar, yes, to start well, and then he does something in the first quarter, and that's your week. That's
Exactly,
basically your
mate.
season, or something like
Yeah.
that. It's just going to be, gives me flashbacks to Callum Mills getting subbed off on 5, and you're like, nah.
Even
We
regardless of
we can't
all
be
of
having
that, like regardless of the reasons why you wouldn't pick Treloar, I mean, forget that when you've got Jackson number 1 rucking against no one, and then Parrish is the easiest run for an inside mid coming up, and Sarong's got West Coast, Newman a super pod. So I actually, like, why would you bother with Treloar? You got so many better options. Like,
okay, how about we do this? So we've said that Jackson's probably the number 1 forward, Parrish is probably the number 1 mid, and I think we've sort of come to the conclusion that Doherty or Newman's the number 1 defender. It really depends. Do you want to go the safe route with Doherty? Do you want to go the pod route with Newman? How about we rank those 3? So let's combine let's combine Doherty and Newman, just give the viewer, whoever, the option, because I know that I personally wouldn't go Newman just because at rank 730, you're pretty much playing to stay in the top 1K or go for top 500. So it's not really like, it doesn't really, I wouldn't want to get a pod in on top of a Naz who's already a pod in my team and sort of just sort of could go anywhere. Don't need it. But let's rank that. So Jackson, Parrish, and then Doherty/Newman. So I'll start with you, DR. So we're both in the same position. We can bring in one of these guys. Who are you going with?
Absolutely, Luke Jackson at number 1. It's really easy for me, actually. I think it's Jackson 1. I think it's Parrish 2. And then the Carlton lads at number 3, mate. Pretty easy for me. And it's funny because I was really big on Parrish when I opened Supercoach and made my trades on my round review. But Jackson's just screaming at me at the moment. Lukey Jackson, Dan Mashman's man, our man Dan, big friend of the potty. I'm going his boy. I'm going Mr. Luke Jackson, mate. Clearly for me.
Awesome. So you've got Jackson, Parrish, and then the Blue Boys. Spills, do you agree? Do you have any changes you'd make to that?
Well, depends if you own Butters or not. Like, I think he's a fair few teams. Yeah. If you don't own him, he's come pretty good. I think he's not getting as much respect, but I probably have to agree. But Butters would be knocking on the door as well. He's someone that you could just get in your team because he's solid, he's safe. But
he's so good.
Yeah,
I love it. Love watching him.
He had some really good kicks on the weekend. He's unbelievably quick and contested. He's amazing. So I'd almost go Jackson, Parrish, and then if you don't have Butters, I'd be slotting him in somewhere. And then
100%.
And then your Blue Boys fall into that honourable mention. But like Butters, I mean, he's so clearly top 6 forward, so obviously.
He laced out Willie Rioli twice in 2 different positions from 2 different places on the ground. He got them both times. He's just such a good player. Freak player.
Highly owned. So.
I would agree. Yeah. Sorry, just with the oversight on Butters, he's in there, but he's owned by 57% of the time.
He doesn't really count because he's so highly owned. Like, you should just have him.
If you're looking for a safe play, Butters or Parrish. If you're looking for that real high upside play, Luke Jackson, considering that he's probably not going to go huge in the final round, and that might be a league final round, so just keep that in mind there.
Good point.
And then finally, I just can't get away from the fact that if you don't have any defensive cover and you have a 7th defender in your midfield, you should be going for a defender this week. And it may not look like much right now, but the difference is if you have a donor for 2 weeks because you got Charlie Constable, James O'Donnell, these types on your bench that are getting games or getting games. Chesser,
there's basically a donut, isn't it?
So,
I've done it before.
Just something to keep in mind, and I guess that's a good way to bookend it because we've really talked through most of the good options this week, and then you got real flies like Mitch Hinge has come out of nowhere for Adelaide. He looks like they've made
Yeah.
He looks like their main avenue out of defense at the moment. So you got players like that who we haven't talked about, but again, you class them with your Nick Newman types, players that have really got secure roles, high upside, low ownership, but you never know where their floor is, and you can always see them just dropping a 60.
Yeah.
So there's that, boys. Well,
that's a good chat. Great
chat there. Yeah.
And even better spreadsheet too.
One of the most, I reckon, analytical chats we've had on the potty so far. Just given he's owned, Nick Daicos was owned by, I'll get this number up. This is, sorry, I forgot to mention this earlier, but 41% of the top 1% don't have a trade left. And that's why they're going to have to rely on cover. 31% of
how many of those have a 23rd? Like, how many you reckon? I don't know if you could find that.
4% have Will Day. 4% of Will Day. I think 19 coaches have Harry Sheasel. It's just a bit difficult, but Nick Daicos is owned by 100% of the top 1,000 coaches.
That's unbelievable, isn't it?
So literally really, 4 out of 10 teams won't be able to trade.
How many of those, like, I fall into that category of no trades, but I wonder how many would have like a 23rd primo to come on field for. Yeah. And just quickly, I was thinking about this before, Janath, just really, really quickly, just on your point earlier about the 23rd primo. But the reason I like that early is because you're stuck with it. I mean, if I had to get a sideways trade, it would have been Tom Green to Doherty or something, or whoever's on the bubble at the time, and I would have had 22. And because 3 weeks you're going to trade, because this is before we know what happens to Daicos. At least when you got 23 primos all year, you're just set with whatever carnage is. I thought I'd quickly add that in, but it's a valid point.
No. So, honestly, the way you justify it makes total sense, and I totally understand where you're coming from. It's just the fact is this could have always happened, and I was really strong on this point all year that if a player like a Daicos scores 80, it doesn't matter because everyone has him. It only matters for those that VC him, and now it's the same time where a player like Daicos, I really hope he gets better. Like, that's not the point here, but the fact is, for Supercoach wise, it's going to open the field in a lot of different ways. It's going to separate the pack.
Like, if I didn't have Lloyd, I'd be in absolute shit.
You got Lloyd, and that's probably better than, like, you've got being able to choose which player you go to from Daicos, having a 22 primo that you can rely on, having bench cover, field in the dome. You're in the second of those 4 tiers. And that's probably better than half the comp right there, mate.
I'll settle this, boys, because I agree with both of you, and that's why I've still got a trade and a 23rd premium. Wink, wink. If you don't,
unreal, mate. You can't stop that. You can't stop the goat.
You can't stop the goat. That's it. Well, I guess we'll just continue this theme of numbers very quickly. DR, you've got the numbers. You know who's won and all. Spills, I've got 2 questions for you, mate. So through 21 rounds the AFL season, how many AFL triple doubles? I'm sure you remember the concept. How many do you reckon there's been in the season? Early in the season, we were saying whether or not there'll be 20 in the season. I can safely say there's been a lot more than 20. How many do you reckon there have been?
I probably would have guessed at least 50. Like, there's been a fair few. There's probably been more because there's been so many players just come out of the woodwork. I reckon somewhere like maybe mid to high 60s. Maybe I'll throw a dart at the board and say, let's go 66. Let's just 66. Out of the blue. 66. Why not? Like, there's been a few. I don't think there's been heaps, but yeah, something like that.
Who do you reckon has the most? I'll tell you, there's a player that is not tied at the top. So we have an outright leader at the moment.
It can't be the Bont. Like, he'd be the obvious one for me. It's just there's nothing he hasn't done this season. So if I just take another stab in the dark, I'd go Bonty. But there's some other Jets there as well, like Petrarca. Laird, Dunkley. There'd be a lot in the conversation. Daicos, obviously. So,
Well, I'll tell you what. The Brownlow medal is not the only thing that the Bont is chasing this year. He is also chasing the AFL triple-double crown for 2023 from...
There's an award.
From Rory Laird.
Oh,
he has had
there we
6
go.
triple-doubles.
The desk.
So far
the desk. Yeah.
The desk is number 1. Round in the podium, we've got the Bont and your boy, DR, Jack Steele. So
That's a surprise. That's a
the
surprise.
tackles...
He's had, if you look at it, he's had a few really big games, hasn't he? And we know he's a tackling beast. So my original guess for number 1 was actually Libba, believe it or not. We can see him what we 2 there, but I just thought he's that real contested type bloke. He may be up there, but look at those 2 up the top there, the desk and the Bont. Absolutely elite. A little bit surprised though, the desk. I didn't think it'd be above the
Just
Bont.
a balance of game style, like you tackle, your disposals. But I've obviously not taken into account is the tackles all that much. I've chucked Daicos in there as an honorable mention. He's not even on the list, so that just goes to show. So,
Do you know what? Do you know what, Spills?
A lot
Christian
of tackling.
Petrarca doesn't have a triple-double.
He's another one as well. See, that's really surprising. So Sicily's like no real surprise because he gets a lot of marks.
Just gets all the marks.
Gets all the marks. Steele led all the tackles. Bonte's really obvious, but it's funny to see that you got players who would almost be like top 3 to 5 in the comp, and they're not even on the list. Like Petrarca and Daicos, they're like Brownlow. I think both of them at this point of the season are top 3 in the Brownlow at the moment, alongside Bontempelli and maybe Butters. So that's really an interesting stat to see that they're not being recognised, and that goes to show why Bontempelli should be the Brownlow medalist, because he's done everything, just a complete player. But led his tackles, no surprise there.
And it's really interesting because I haven't actually put any hit-out data in, but Rowan Marshall and Tim English as well. I know Tim English had a game where he had 10 marks, 8 tackles, 25 disposals, 17 contest possessions, something like that.
I can't watch him. I just can't do it.
It's just so good.
It's so hard to watch.
Yeah.
He was going so terrible on the weekend, and I was just sitting back going, So the week that Brigger goes off and only outscored him by like 10 points in the end. Still, English finished off so strong. What a failed non-selection that was, but
So
some great stats
So
here.
3 rounds to go. We've had 73 triple-doubles. Just a quick yes/no. Will the Bont tie or overtake Rory in the last 3 weeks?
No,
Yes.
I don't think so.
I'm going yes.
No.
This man's gonna make sure the doggies cement their spot in the finals, and he'll go to another level over these next 3 weeks.
Spills?
I'd say I wouldn't be surprised to see him. No, I won't go 8. I reckon he'll go 7, 2 out of 3 weeks. I'm going.
Okay.
Yep.
Spills? Will he get there?
I think. Well, we look at Laird's inconsistency for the season, but he's clearly the favourite of triple doubles. There's without a doubt he watches this segment. So if you're watching Laird,
He probably does.
To bring it home, he must go, oh gee, I don't want to lose this one. Let's get some more tackles. He's the ultimate bear hugger. So I think Laird will just be a little bit too safe. But I really do hope, just for general sake, I really do hope Bonte can finish home strong, or come home strong rather, and take home that Brownlow that he should have won in 2021. So
with these Spills.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
I'm rooting for the Bont.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Whoever wins, we'll try to get them on the podcast. I'm sure Rory Laird, as an avid viewer, would want to come on with the boys.
Absolutely.
Rates his own work. He definitely captained himself in round 1. Hence why he responded the following week.
Yeah, it would have been dirty with himself, wouldn't he?
What do I do to myself? I'm ranked 90k. I captained myself. Far out. I'm going to make sure I respond this week. Chucked a VC on himself in round 2. He's sitting back on. Boys. How good's that?
You know what? Next week as a segment, boys, I'll put together in my opinion, the 5 best stat lines from this year so far, and I'll put them out to you, and you guys can have your own way of ranking them. Might even do a guess to play. I'll put the stat line, and then you guys have to guess the player, what round, something like that. We'll have a bit of fun with it next week.
Yeah.
Lovely, mate.
Well, with that, so there's some numbers. Let's go to some community engagement now, DR. Very quickly. I don't think we have many questions, but let's do a very short Q&A segment, mailbag.
Clearly, we've
All
covered
right.
all the Daicos stuff. So
Let's get into it. Now, I think there's only 4 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, 4 legends as well. Oh, you know this fella. Begsy, how are you, legend? Everyone will know Begsy from our community swordplay potty a couple of weeks ago. Great to hear from you, legend. G'day, lads. How are we? Very well, thank you, my man. Finally losing my last trade after 5 weeks of holding it. Daicos out and have 612K in the bank. Can't get Sicily or Houston. Houston even. Have Stewart, Sink, Ryan, Day, and Dawson. Leaning to Doc, but open to other suggestions. Newman, Dale, Hinge. Well, we've talked about all those blokes apart from Dale. Well, we've pretty much answered that. Well, I'm going to go with Nick Newman myself.
Yeah.
If you want to go a little bit outside the box there, Begsy. Spills, who are you going with for Begsy there, mate?
I'll definitely Newman. I won't go into it at all. I won't elaborate. We've touched on all of that in the previous discussion. Yeah, summed it up. What a great pod. Really low ownership, and I think he can bring you home strong. So you could do a hell of a lot worse than Nick Newman, especially with Docky up the ground. So yeah, beautiful. I think he's a clear one.
Janath?
I think. Well, if Begsy's saying he can get Doc, I'd go Doc. Just for the safety. But it's Doc or Newman. Again, this is perfect. This is basically the epitome of the decision the Supercoach player has to make, the risk versus the safety. So Doc's the safety. Newman is probably a little bit of risk attached with McGovern to come back in 2 weeks. Boyd may come back this week, but Sackfish was playing well off of halfback as well. So I don't think it'll change much for the Melbourne game.
Beautiful, mate. Hopefully that helps, Begsy. All the best, legend. Cheers, mate. Next one is from Rich. How are you, buddy? I've got 2 trades left, but not enough dollars to go Daicos to Sicily. Is it crazy to look at downgrading someone like Dunkley to Jackson to afford Daicos to... Gee, this is a different one, isn't it?
Dunkley to Jackson?
Rich is thinking outside the box. And I'm not saying I absolutely agree with the trades, but I love the way that Rich here is thinking completely differently here. You know, I really want to get Sis in. What have I got to do in order to do that? Well, you've got to sacrifice something.
You know what? I like it. I like it.
I don't know.
I'll tell you what. I'll answer this one because
go Spills. Yep.
I don't, Jay, if you got Dunkley, don't you? DR, you traded him?
I've got the great man, mate. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so have I. So look, I'll be honest with you. I was sitting back on the Sunday night with the popcorn going, Dunkley's just coughing it up. Yes. Oh, I'm gonna have such a good week. And it's so late in the season. You got 2 trades. If you burn them now, I think you'll get through. I think you will. So I don't mind it because Dunks is going to drop a stack. He's going to drop like crazy. So I really, Dogger Jackson, we discussed, great option. And we forget because we didn't touch on this because obviously it's your last trade, but with this chap, obviously he's got 2 trades. So this is where you can consider price. Boys, he's like 502K, was it? About around the mark? Low 500K is
low 500.
Yeah, so low 500K. So there's so much value in that. There's heaps of upside. And you're getting Daicos to Sicily. James Sicily, who I think, let's say, maybe he doesn't, but hypothetically, he could almost outscore Dunkley for the rest of the season in current form. There's nothing to suggest that he couldn't do that. And you're banking money. I like it. I like it.
What I'll say with Rich here is he's probably bringing in the 2 players. There's probably have 2 of the top 5 upside Supercoach-wise in at least the next 2 weeks. Sicily probably for the season.
Well, that's the most important thing, Janath. Like Dunkley's been like top 5 for the season, but will he be top 5 from, let's say, last week?
I don't think it matters because I see Jackson score. It's not like Dunkley's going to score 100, but if Jackson goes 130 for the next
Easy.
2 weeks.
Oh,
Dunkley
surely.
goes 121, 21, 20. Daicos to Sicily is basically the trade there. If you can back in your cover, then Daicos to Sicily,
Well,
Dunkley to
I'll-
Jackson makes sense.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, like
Well, I'll
the
quickly,
Chiefs are running
like-
with a chesser. You got like 100 and
Yeah,
potentially 100+ points on them the next 3
a
weeks.
week. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Spills.
well, no, you're right, mate. I'll quickly bookend my decision on it, and I reckon this is one of the most absurd trade proposals, but I like it, and I reckon you should do it because that is high risk, high reward. And if Dogger pays off and you've got Sicily, you're skyrocketing, man, 100%. So I probably might be the only one out of the three that would say yes, but yeah, I'm left field, boys, and I'm keen to hear your thoughts on this one because it's a great question. I don't mind it.
Well, as a
Yeah.
non-Sicily owner, can someone just man him up? Like, seriously.
No, let him
the
play
game
loose.
plan
Bugger off,
the
Janet.
game
No.
plan
Bugger off.
is right there. You lock down Sicily, you win the game, but no, these coaches are too idiotic and they think they know better than other teams. The game plan is right in your hands. Ford did it to Hawthorn and they almost won the game. St Kilda did it and they won the game. And then the teams that don't do it, it goes and has 20 bloody marks every week.
And we're not talking
Like, you're
about
kidding.
elite defenders of the competition locking down on him. You know, who was, as you said, Ford, and who was the other
Eddie
bloke?
Ford, Cooper Sharman.
Cooper Sharman.
Like-
Come on, give us a break.
Oh.
So, look, I really don't mind it. Look, I'm always a safer type bloke to just keep that extra trade in the bank. But Janath made a good point. If you're going for anyone at the moment, you know, I'd say that Sis and Jackson are two of the hottest players in the comp, Supercoach wise. Looking at upcoming fixtures, current form, I actually like it, mate. And I say congratulations for thinking of something way outside the box.
That's it.
To find that
Good
solution.
It won't matter
Rich.
anyway because no one's going to have any trades left after this week with Daicos. You'd think there might be the odd team that does. So
Someone
I think you can go no trades now. 100%. Go through it, man. I really like it.
I like
Up to
it,
you,
Rich.
but-
Yeah.
Beauty. Good on you, Rich. Thanks, buddy. Next one is from Riser. G'day, Riser. I can afford Daicos to Jackson and one of Himmelberg or Sheasel to Butters. Should I pull the trigger? And who should I keep out of Sheasel and Himmelberg?
Oh,
Harry,
Here's the content,
Old
lads.
Harry.
Good on you, Riser.
there's no way that Jack Siebel gets put to the
which
sub
Harry?
or dropped.
Which Harry?
Himmelberg. What's the
Oh.
other Harry?
Sheasel?
Oh,
It is
sorry.
too.
I forgot his
Shut
name.
it.
I forgot his first name.
You can answer it.
We never call him Harry. Do we ever call him Harry?
Harry Sheasel.
The Sheasel, I know
like-
it's weird calling him Harry.
I've
Like
never-
Harry.
We
It
never
doesn't
call
seem
him
right.
Harry.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Sorry.
I reckon
Oh, that's
this is
like-
the
that's
easiest.
awful.
This is the easiest question I've ever
Awful.
answered on a podcast. I would
Oh.
keep Harry. Keep Harry, Riser. Done.
Oh, that's terrible. But
So-
no, keep Himmelberg because
Yeah.
Jack Siebel is not going to get dropped from the team. He's on his retirement
Mm.
tour. He's going to get all the kicks. You know what? Aaron Hall might get a game in round 24 as well. I'm dreading it because they're just going to keep kicking it between each other. Farewell
Ooh.
tour.
Yeah.
Honestly, Jack Siebel might be a good trade in for Nick Daicos if you want to free up some cash.
Isn't it unbelievable that we're saying that? But you're right. He could be. It's just ridiculous, isn't it?
This is
But
another
yeah.
yes, I think, because you can go without trades, as we discussed on the previous question. I think it's the perfect time to burn your last two trades this week and really capitalize, and that'll put you that'll put you a leg up on the rest of the competition because you're targeting that value and you're correcting someone that when I say a lot of people, I mean 58% of the comp have. Not having Sheasel, what a point of difference that could be. So yeah,
And getting Butters,
easy
getting
yes.
Butters at the same time.
And Butters, huge pickup
Yeah.
if you don't have him. So we
Huge
discussed him
Absolutely.
earlier. If you don't have him, jump on. Huge yes, Riser. Yep, lock that one
Yep,
in.
we all agree, mate. So Daicos to Jackson, yes, and keep on
Yep.
to Harry Himmelberg. All right, and the last
Harry.
one here is from
Harry. Keep Harry.
Good Harry.
That's unreal.
PD901. G'day,
Had
PD. How are you,
Janath
my man?
rattled. Had him rattled.
I was so lost, bro.
No,
I was so
Like,
confused.
when you said Harry, I was thinking him. I did not even think of Sheasel. When
Didn't
Dennis said
know
Harry,
forgot his name was
Sheasel-
Harry.
Didn't even
Which
enter my
one?
mind. So I'm with you, Janath, on that one, mate. I'm absolutely with you, brother. All right, Petey, LA legend. Hey, all, getting to the pointy end of the Supercoach finals and have other weeks planned, but need to pick 2 of these 4 forwards for the big round 24 final. Gee, Petey's got a bit of stuff going on here. A few trades up the sleeve. And I think he's locked himself into that final as well. So good on you, Petey. Absolutely love it,
Talk
mate.
about count
I
your
love the
chickens,
confidence,
boys.
mate. I love the compliment. Cox versus Blues. Tough scoring for the mids. McRae at GMHBA. Flanders versus North. Doesn't this just sum up 2023? We're comparing, do I get McRae or Flanders? It's unbelievable, isn't it? But it's a decent question, mate. It's an absolutely decent question. Or Tech against the Eagles. This is what I was going to save my last trade for, boys. I'm spewing that Daicos is gone because I was going to get the big Texan in that last round. But all right, so need to pick 2 out of the 4
the last 2.
So,
like, it's ridiculous to say, but go for the matchups.
Yeah.
Tex against the Eagles and Flanders against North.
It probably
Right?
is. We're bypassing.
Can I just elaborate on that one, Janath? So what if he decides to... Because is he doing this trade this week, obviously, because of Daicos and using DPP? Because that's really important. Because what happens if he goes Tex and Tex bombs in the prelim and scores just typical key forward 60, and then he's the reason you don't make it into your grand final, and then in the grand final he scores 150, but it doesn't matter because you need to win that prelim. So if it's
that's the hard thing, because it's hard to say whether he has any of these or not, because it says pick 2 of these 4 forwards. Are you saying as if you're going to trade in 2 forwards in the upcoming weeks, or you already have like Cogs and you're looking to sideways him at round 24 for Tex type? Like, it's without the context there or seeing the team, it's just hard to say, because you probably don't have Tex right now, right? Or you may already have all 4 of them. You're picking which 2 to field or something. It's just hard to say.
You're right, Jenna. We need a bit of context, I think. So,
Tex has a bad record against Brisbane. 41 last time he played Brisbane. 54 last time he played, which is the most important one, that Sydney game, because you need to get through that prelim. If you've got a really good team, you're confident you're going to get there in that prelim. Tex's last score against West Coast, we all know it. 208. Yeah. So that's the one that you want, 100%. But you got to get to that grand final first.
Yeah, boys. How about just for Peter here? We'll do 2 quick rankings here. So if you were to let's just say trade 2 of these blokes in this week, who would you go this week? Or if you're just focusing purely on round 24, who would you go with? So Spills, if you had to pick 2 this week, mate, who do you think that you're going?
It's pretty boring, but I've got Cogs, and I've barely really anything to comment on. Just gets it done every week. Ceiling's not there, floor's not there, just as safe as houses. He'll get you through. You can't go wrong. Like, Flanders has been on a real nice run and does have North, which is quite promising, but there's so much uncertainty because didn't he burn us to a crisp at the start of the season? When we needed him, when this bloke needs him. You just Murphy's Law. You just have the feeling. I like Tex the most, but the matchups before West Coast are pretty shit house. So Cogs for me, 100%.
All right, cool. Janath, how about you, mate?
I'd go Cogs, Flanders, McRae, Tex. If you're trading in for a 3-week block, Tex.
I would absolutely agree.
Oh, great.
Flanders,
that's my ranking
Cogs,
too.
McRae. If you're trading in at round 24, or if you're looking to field someone.
But you can hold one trade.
I don't know. You can't trust McRae because he's got no ceiling, and even his floors getting lower every single week that he plays. It's like 85s and 90s, and it's like 87, and then he has a random 120 game where he goes back to old McRae. It's just too hard.
Yeah. All right. Well,
boys, we've wrapped up the Q&A there.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well. Awesome. So I guess we'll just go round table and just very quickly talk about our captains. I'm going to kick us off here. I'm going to VC Merit. I think basically anyone with Merit in their team is going to do that. So it's not really going to be a pod move. But at this time of the year, unless you're chasing prizes or you're chasing top 10 or you're chasing 1K, I don't really see the point in going too far poddish with your captain.
Yep.
And then vice captain, and then captain, looking at a Christian Petrarca, maybe Tom Liberatore. It's hard to say who Finn goes to. I feel like Finn will naturally go to Bont, but at the same time, he could just go to Liber, shut down the source. But I feel like he would have tagged. He was never going to tag Degoe, but if he was going to tag the source, it would have been Degoe. So it gives you a bit more safety saying it's going to be Liber. There's some other good options. There's not too many good captaincy options, I don't feel, unless you captain one of the boys you trade in, like a Sarong, like a Jackson. All the Freo boys this week are going to be really nice captaincy options.
Well, yeah, Sarong, yeah.
Well,
Spills,
look,
do you want to go first?
mate, I've got a few. Well, I've got 4 vice captain options that I'm looking at here. Stuart Zeret. I did have Parish here, who I was looking to trade in, or Spills' man Errol. You know, he got that ceiling.
We haven't discussed that yet, Janath.
Does he get tagged?
We don't know.
By 2.
This is why it's a VC move for me. It's definitely a VC move. I don't think Errol's ever a good C move, to be quite honest. With the captains, I think you've got some safe ones. You know, your English, your Bont, your Liber, your Track, Gorn with no Grundy. I hope that doesn't happen. That's a different discussion. I hope with Petty out. Spills, I will have a cry like Harrison, mate, if Grundy comes back in. Let me tell you about that, mate.
I saw him cry on the tally.
Mate, didn't we all? And last thing I'll say is risk versus reward captains. I think you got Jackson and Sicily, I think, for me. You're just worried about chucking the captaincy on them, but they could go really, really big. But I'm probably with you, Janath, at this stage, mate. Just looking at a nice Zeret into Track move. 160 against your boys last year, but also Maxi Gorn in current form as well without Grundy will definitely come into consideration, mate. Spilsy.
Spills, bookend it, mate.
Yeah, well, I probably can't pass up on Merritt. He's pretty solid. I don't know if he has the free hit he had in the first half. They had against North Melbourne last time. That's a real worry. Do they just tag him straight off the bat and he scrapes his way to a 120? That's the real problem I have. But I think it's just such a defensive move, and if he goes nuts, then you're gonna be struggling to come back from that one. If it was any other week from now, I wouldn't actually reveal my captain because of the cash league that I'm in, DR. But I've got the buy. I've got the buy this week. Sticking to your strategy, VC and Merritt this week, and I'm going to captain Madden. But this week, obviously, I have a buy, so I can reveal it. So probably looking at Sarong at the moment against West Coast, who I really do like. But,
nice.
But Janath, Petrarca against the Blues, it doesn't seem to matter how competitive you guys are. The man just can't be stopped. He's unbelievable, and he plays good in big games too. That's real prime time. I think it's Saturday night. It's wet. It's going to be pissing down on the G. So just
is it? That's good for us because Melbourne don't play in the wet apparently. Don't play well in the wet.
So I was going to go to that game with my mum and my brother, but obviously it's going to be raining. So we've actually put a pin through it. So that's why I'm going to go that's why I'm going to go Sarong at the moment, just because the matchup. I think Dogger's going to give Sarong some real silver service and hopefully O'Neill tags Brayshaw because
O'Neill.
I don't know. He's the real tag. I think
O'Neill hasn't been tagging at all. He would have tagged Merritt if he really wanted to.
Didn't Merritt cop a tag off O'Neill? Was it someone else?
Not much. It wasn't.
Not much in it. But
it went in a little bit, I think. But it wasn't nothing like a pin.
They don't have a solution for anything.
And Spills. Real quick one, to allay your fears about the North tag, Liam Shields is out for 1 to 2 weeks still with the calf injury. So I don't see a tag coming from North for Merritt. So
good.
Lock in Merritt VC and then hopefully Charlie Constable step up with the captain's armband, mate.
Yeah.
If he doesn't play.
Yeah.
if he doesn't play. Yeah, don't lock
pretty
it too early.
simple for me.
And
DR, you going through with you going through a dogger in summary? You
Yeah, mate.
Yeah. Yep. So that's
Getting
happening.
Dogger in.
Because we don't have we're not trading, but obviously we haven't discussed our trade.
Whoa. Don't speak for yourself, Spills. I've still got a trade in. I've got a trade in hand, mate. I'm just waiting to see Thursday teams.
Oh, here we go.
Look at Janath with a card to his chest. Like, no, I'm not revealing anything.
Did I not go through my trade scenario before?
No, you did. Yeah.
Spills just go bang.
I don't know what it's like to have trades. I haven't had trades in about 3 months.
Oh, that's good.
No, you boys are very lucky, honestly. So yeah, spoiled for choice here.
Come on, Dogger. If Seamus Mitchell is named, Dogger's the man. We'll back him in.
Let's go.
But no, lads, great episode there. As always, awesome to chat. It was good to be back on. I did feel a bit left out when I saw the chat with Brent Oz. I wanted to be there in person.
To have you on that one. That was
definitely next time, mate.
Life does get the better of you. But we'll leave that there. Hopefully everyone has a good week. If you guys have any questions, as always, leave them out in the comments or DM us. Hopefully, Nick Daicos, the dilemma there doesn't affect you too much. You can make the right move. And as always, hopefully you get that green arrow and you can climb as we head into the third last week of the Supercoach season. So from us, cheerio. We'll see you guys all next week.
See you, boys.
Catch you, lads.